I'm going to climb down over there. I'm doing this, well, because I'm a ham, but also because we're going to put an art project up here that might mean we're not. I didn't even know this was here, by the way.
I didn't either.
I've been here for 4 years, and I had no idea this space existed. So Duncan and a bunch of folks are working on art projects. Margaret Lazari painted that piece over there. We had a piece out last week of like a watery scene, but we're going to come up with some kind of series of art projects or one big art project, maybe a mosaic that covers up this space. So I thought we'd open it up just for fun. So I'm going to do announcements from here. So let's see. So tonight, the most pressing announcement probably is that we're having a party on the patio out here for fireworks, 7:30 to 9:30. Kind of bring your own blankets, bring, it gets kind of chilly. Bring, whatever drinks or food you want to come. That's 7:30 to 9:30 so we can watch the fireworks all the way up the beach. Let's see. There's a possible notion of a dream group that Vivian wants to start, so people who are interested in dream analysis and that kind of stuff, where that's a possibility. There's a sign-up sheet in the back over there. Let's see. I will be gone from the 12th of July through the 2nd of August. No cheers? Okay, all right. Lynn has been booking weddings, so we've got good news about more weddings. We had a great men's group meeting, so the first Thursday of every month at 9:30 we have a men's group. I'd like to see that grow. That was really nice. We had a great conversation this last Thursday. We obviously passed the budget. Everything sort of went through. We have 4 new board members, Amy Pham, who's right in front of us, and Karen Miracle, and Andrea Matson-Decay, and also Kim Prado-Store, who just walked in today with Naomi as also board winners. So congratulations to them. Let's see, we have Claire back for a couple months of leading RE for us. So she's going to take care of deal with the kids, and I'm going to design some curriculum for them. And let's see, so Kelly's become a staff person, or is fast about to become a staff person, so congratulations to her. And I'm going to invite Lisa to step forward and read our chalice words while I scurry down. All right. We'll pull the projector down, too, when I'm finished. Go slow.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lisa Seitz, and I'm going to do the chalice reading today. How are you? Happy 4th of July. No. All right, here we go.
Yeah, great.
Steve is stealing my thunder.
How are we doing?
Good.
Are they inspired?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The transformative force of love. We light this chalice flame as a sign of our faith. May we ever trust the good light within each heart, the sacredness of life, the transformative power of love, and our own power to make a difference.
Excellent. Thanks, Lisa.
Do I need this?
Yeah, you do. So I probably don't need to remind you we're in the middle of the All-American Weekend, right? And let me shut this off. In an act of celebrating that, we spill hot dogs and Coca-Cola on Old Glory. Mostly this weekend is a politics-free weekend. For the most part, we're pretty good at that. I'm going to probably break that trend today, but in a fair way, I think. We as a nation almost invented rights. We're the first one to kind of come up with that. And along those rights is the right to sort of believe whatever you want. So today's kind of a Second Amendment sort of spirited day. And we don't, as Patrick Moynihan famously said, we have a right to our own opinions, but we do not have a right to our own facts. So in spirit of cooperation and the frustration that being an American involves of just competing ideologies and the thoughts of the folks on 95 in Massachusetts going to Maine and sort of just the chaos that is our country. I'm going to preach a sermon that sort of lifts up all different perspectives. Some you probably will not like, some you'll love, who knows. And then we're going to do a talk back. We're just going to pass around the microphones. Part of our old PUC tradition is to sort of do talk back, so we're going to do that as well. So all that happens after we hear some music, our opening hymn.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim of wisdom
Nice. It is the 4th of July, and we're going to hear a reading from Frederick Douglass that he preached on the 4th of July. Take it away.
Okay, during the 1850s, Frederick Douglass typically spent about 6 months of the year traveling and giving lectures. And during one winter, he gave about 70 lectures during a tour that covered 4,000 to 5,000 miles. And then he just kept giving speaking engagements throughout the year. And on July 5th, 1852, Douglass gave a speech at an event in Rochester on July 4th. And it was biting oratory in which Douglass told his audience, "This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn." And he asked them, "Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak today?" So it was called by the historian Fauner probably the most moving passage in all of Douglass's speeches. So here's a passage from that July 4th speech in 1852. "What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham, your boasted liberty an unholy license, your national greatness swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy, a thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation on the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of the United States at this very hour."
We invite any kids who are here forward, if we have any kids. I don't know, we have Althea, I know. And Lisa's going to lead us in a children's moment. But Lisa, you can sit right there, you're right there. And I know Naomi's here too. Come on up. Okay, fine.
This can kind of be for everybody.
Yeah.
As it is apropos of everybody. So why am I dressed the way I am? Anybody? Yes.
Because it's Cupcake Day.
Cupcake Day. That's
This
a good
is
reason,
true.
that's for sure. But today also is another celebration that we celebrate across our land, which is called
July 4th?
July 4th. Yay! So I dressed this way today because it's a symbolic day. It's a really important day. And it's the day that we decided this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that men are all created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, good start, right? Did we get there? No, we're not there yet. Okay, so our first try at maybe helping that along were the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. And we know those. I can't read them because it's small, but you guys know them. You know, it's freedom of speech, freedom from and for religion, guns, which is badly interpreted. Yeah, so
Lots
a
about
lot of those
trials.
things, okay? But did that fix everything? No, it didn't. So we had more amendments that came, and how did those amendments get passed? Did everybody just sit down in a circle and say, okay, we're fixing everything, let's do this?
Yes.
No.
Ish.
But I appreciate your fervor. So what did people do to try and make things better?
They had to speak up.
They had to speak up. What else did they do?
Vote.
Pass states' rights, okay?
Voted for changes in laws.
Voting for changes in laws. Did everybody get to vote? No. So how did we change that?
Yeah.
We protested. We went to prison. People got killed so that people could vote. Is everything perfect now? No. Okay? So here are some of the things that we did get to change, and it's amazing how long it took those things to happen. So it was not till 1865, 1776, 1865, when we finally said you can't be enslaved, unless, of course, you're in prison and then you're our slave, which is still needs to be fixed, right? It wasn't until 1866 that they said due process. They can't do anything to you without it going through the laws, okay? 1867, race, color, and previous conditions of servitude for voting. That went by the wayside. In the meantime, we had Jim Crow laws, we had all kinds of things that were trying to keep people from doing that. Then, here's a really one that was kind of weird. Prohibition in 1917, no more alcohol. And did we have a problem with alcohol in our country? Yeah, we did. We had a big problem because people were not moderate, okay? And then 1919, 1776, 1919, yo, women get to vote. How did we do that? We marched, we protested, we went to jail, people were beaten, people were forced with tubes to have fluid in their body. Terrible, terrible, but it happened. It finally happened. Then in 1962, 1776, 1962, you don't have to pay to vote. No poll tax. Now, to me, having to have an ID that you pay for is a poll tax. Okay. Then, in 1971, you went to war, you got to vote. 18. Okay? Then here's another one. 1924, the indigenous peoples in our country were given the right to vote. 1776, 1924. But did they all get to vote then? No. It wasn't until 1957, I was 6 years old, before Indigenous peoples were allowed to vote. And how did we get that done?
Protested.
We protested. We took over Alcatraz. We, as a body, we wrote, we voted, we wrote books, we told stories. Everything that we need to happen depends on us, right? Depends on you. Depends on you.
It depends on cupcakes and balloons.
Yeah, because sometimes we need a little inspiration, don't we? And that's cupcakes and balloons, okay? So on this great day of a really great beginning, and we have to admit that it is a great beginning, and we've made great strides, but we need to remember that we still need to vote. We still need to protest. We still hopefully don't go to jail. We don't kill people for no reason. We have a lot of work to do. And that's kind of what our congregation works on, and I'm really happy to be part of it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right.
I can yell.
Go yell.
Just to go back to your things about the fact thing, protests and votes, all those things are important. But the Constitution, the way to amend the Constitution is through 2/3 Congress vote or 2/3 of state legislatures. It's not all the people can't get together and vote on something. It has to be done through state legislatures or the Congress. So that's why the vote's so important. Who's in the state legislature and who's in the Congress, because they're the ones who decide how we amend the Constitution.
Cool. We started our talk back early. I like it. Good. Okay, so I'm going to come down and we're going to share joys and concerns. So if anyone has a joy or concern, Leanne's going to light our candle. Okay. We're trying to be a little bit more diverse and multicultural, so we're going to have a kind of a shamanic prayer time. So I invite people to take all those thoughts and concerns and, thoughts about Bill Cosby being released to your own personal situation, and let's find a time of meditation. Sorry for the harsh end. It was nice though, wasn't it? We're going to try to add a little bit more meditative stuff with music as we move forward in time later. So in the spirit promised by the poster, I'm going to change I don't make an order of service because we want to try to eliminate the handing out of things, but we're going to go with sermon, talk back, and then the reading. I think the reading would interrupt our natural flow of talk back, so I designed our little cheat sheet a little wrong. So if anyone, well, half of you, or not quite half of you, have probably been into the men's room, and there's this thing called the Second Amendment that hangs above the urinal, which I just think is funny, so you get a chance to read it if you're a guy.
The First Amendment.
No, it's the second, isn't it? It's the first. Okay, it's the first. Well, one of the amendments. I don't get to the end of it by the time I'm finished, so I don't know. And in the spirit of it's sort of in the spirit of this of the diversity of America. It's I wrote this piece called "A Political Rorschach's Test," and among all the things we celebrate on the 4th, we celebrate the freedom to believe whatever you want. So, we tend to have a somewhat universal view in this room about rights and about what where the country should head. That's part of the spirit of the church. Whereas probably as politically aligned as we are spiritually aligned, maybe more. But I've always noted how difficult things fall together here in mostly a peaceful way. They don't fall together perfectly by any stretch, but this sermon is about riling up all of that, and as a talkback built in to take me down for writing this sermon. And the invention of the internet has allowed us all the capacity to sort of test ourselves. You've probably been on there and filled out some kind of survey or test. We discover in a line what religion we really are. If you go to belief.net, you can find out how pagan or Christian or Unitarian you are. With a few googly taps on your computer, you can draw up a digital sense of how financially solvent you might be moving into the future. And the digital yenta that is Amazon can now inform you of what music and books you might like based on the music and books you've just bought. I'd like to add to that convenience my own little political Rorschach's test. You can, as you listen to it, I encourage you to think about what frustrates you and what moves you. I wrote these little pieces with a spirit of advertising and actually speaking positively to every as many of the political spectrums I could think of. So this is very much sort of a free speech kind of thing. I want you to follow what enrages you and what touches you. Okay, the socialists are right, of course. There is certainly free will, and of course across the vast swath of humanity historically, there are individually gifted humans who have, within their cultures and between all cultures, risen up with different levels of ambition and talent and focus to make a unique contribution. That is certainly true. However, isn't it smarter, truer, and fairer, and essentially in the end more accurate to think that we're in this all together? Doesn't it make more sense to focus on the way we're all in this together, right? On our interdependence, not our independence. The way we fit is far more important than the way we differentiate from one another. The way we cooperate is much more important than the individual skills we have, right? Given that we share a planet now, and in a way we never did before, we all share a financial system around the globe, is it not more truly accurate to say that we all share a fate than compete for one? Isn't in the end the socialists right? Right? However, the neocons speak a certain truth too. See, for all the truth that peacenik liberals like myself hold, that there remains an unavoidable truth that there are mean people in the world, and they have sticks, and they have knives, and they have rocket grenade launchers. Hug one another all you want. It remains a perpetual truth that there are people ready to use them. There are people with the energy of youth and the anger of poverty and the freedom that comes from little left to lose. They are out there. Might may not make right, but in the real world, don't kid yourself. When the chips are down, rocks and scissors both beat paper. Right? Right. However, the leftist revolutionaries are correct too. The fact remains that unless there is a consistent vigilance, as Lisa spoke about, to fight the powers that be, those powers will predictably, clean-handedly, and politely, systematically oppress everyone that they can, at about the proportion they're allowed to. This is human nature, quite simply. The truth remains that we common people have the numbers, do we not? And it is only because of our own complicity that billionaires basically get to hide assets and determine their own tax rates. And we have them and the police protecting their gazillion-foot yachts from housing the homeless. Am I wrong? No, I'm not. It's just like Martin Luther King said, and 1,000 like him. The only thing that evil needs to thrive is for good people to be passive and do nothing. We should take up sword and pen and demand justice, right? Right. Nonetheless, the libertarians are correct too, aren't they? When all is said and done, you, I, all of us are first and foremost individuals, aren't we? First and foremost responsible for ourselves, aren't we? It's obvious, isn't it? No one's going to die for you. Nobody knows what I like or when I'm hungry. Each of our soul's fate is really in our own hands, isn't it? Not to face this truth is to be a bit immature and naive, isn't it? When I or you bleed or grieve, nobody does that for you. All this means that the only variable I can really control is me. That is how the world works. Who cares what or whom you put in your body? The world works best when we all take responsibility for our own selves. If everyone did that, we would all be better off. Everyone's fate is mostly in their own hands. I'm sick of my competence and caution and training and resources being used to support others. Aren't you? Nonetheless, the environmentalists are right too. Whether whatever color or creed, whatever flag you may stand under, we now see that the most important distinction and label we can give ourselves is that we are earthlings. We're in a way we could never see until just about the moon shot, that we are all sharing this planet. This blue-green globe spinning in Earth. We've all come to know now, in a way we didn't before, in a way that binds birds and turtles, in a way that binds hummus and humans together. Free market truths aside, individual liberties aside, racial awareness aside, we are nothing without clean air and clean water to drink. Stupid, stupid, stupid of us not to embrace this truth quicker. We have been slow in absorbing the lessons of ecosystems. We have been lax in understanding ourselves to be a keystone species, and we have been late to take care of the only home in the universe we are aware of. Every right, every issue, every racial group or gender identity, every problem is null and void if we cannot protect the one spinning rock we live on in a hostile universe. Am I right? However, we'd be remiss not to point out in a way that the hedonists are right too. We should eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we may not, we will die. This is Eden with some thorns, isn't it? Isn't it clear that we're no more than animals with big brains caught up in the simple back and forth of pleasure and pain? Given that, and given that the pleasures are here for us to absorb, to enjoy in our time, all of us, without being reckless or selfish, should enjoy what we can now, right? But the capitalists are correct too. A rising tide does really lift all ships, maybe not perfectly, but at least some. Sure, Trump's a jerk, that's obvious. You should know what else is obvious, that the state of the poor in America is frequently better than the situation of the middle-class people in other countries. A shirt in the crowd says, "A poor person never gave me a job." Who can disagree with that? Look at the history of the world. Initiative is the source of a lot of what we know to be good. Free markets and liberty, personal initiative, and creativity it fosters, yay. Those forces are more responsible for our lives at all being pleasant than compassion is. Every medical advance, every intervention, everything anyone ever created mostly was made a buck off of, didn't they? Before capitalism was invented, we were running around without buttons and we hadn't figured out that our feet need different shoes. But I'm not done yet, because as depressing as it all might be, great speeches aside, the nihilists are correct too. As any philosopher or any teenager with a Green Day poster can tell you, most likely nothing matters. We're all going to die, and that's the great truth. Wake up and get over your inflated dreams and ego and principles. Entropy, the scientific process, the law of physics that tells us that everything is falling apart is a law, not just a bad idea, and always at work. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust is actually way more reliable than taxes. So, given that we clearly all embrace and cultivate a real truth, let's get down to the real business of modern culture and compromise. Thank you for letting me help America. Oh. Yeah, okay. Any fights?
Every argument had its convincing points. Yeah.
It places us in a weird spot, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, George.
Yeah, but you just touched the top layer. You took the best of everything and put it out there. Peel that baby back and look underneath and see what's really.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you are. So, and then, so I may be missing a key tongue-in-cheek point, but when you said a poor person never gave me a job, I think of myself as a teacher, a person who provides leadership in various educational areas, my daughter pursuing social work. I think poor people, or less than well-supported people, give a lot of us jobs, indirectly. So let's not forget that. You know?
Well, the thing that struck me, I kept thinking that what is like quality of life, right? So if you're poor and you live in a little village and maybe you have less money than a poor person that's living on the street here that's strung out on drugs or has no family or is sunburned or is freezing to death and, or whatever. But I think of people that are just as poor in other countries that are taking care of each other, right? And that have this extended family and they have different values.
That could be on the list too. Now we've started something. Here we go.
Actually, I wasn't going to respond to what you just said. I'm sorry. But yeah, I've been thinking about these issues a lot because I teach critical thinking and rhetoric. And I recently learned that what most convinces people is a personal story or use of pathos. And so you have all these people arguing on like Facebook. I mean, your sermon was a little bit like a Facebook argument. And so what happens is, everybody argues their points and no one is ever convinced by facts and statistics, but people are swayed. And I found this as well in my own experience. People are swayed by a personal story, like I feel this way because this happened in my life, or I know this person. So I've just noticed the power of that in a persuasive argument. Okay, I was going to say something else, but I don't remember.
Good. But I think that we have to have a reason. We have to have a reason. Otherwise, why draw that first breath? So whatever your reason is, yes, you can live. It isn't always money. It isn't always money. But I think the purpose of our being on this planet has to count for something.
Okay, Ted.
You actually made more. A Facebook argument would never present so many diverse points of view, but you have to be careful with the labels because the right-wing propaganda has been so successful at redefining so many words, like a socialism means any type of regulation and anything that benefits the non-wealthy. And capitalism means the sort of capitalism you describe, but the reality is that there are many different kinds of capitalism. The kind of pernicious zero-sum version that we have in this country is not the only kind.
I get from that and believe that everybody's right and everybody's wrong. And so if we take the good out of each of all the piles we ever find and amass that together, and that is an ecosystem in a harmony in and of itself, then that's really what we need to be doing.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
I'm sorry, but I cannot let this innovations and capitalism bullshit stand, because all the medical stuff is been done in research at universities. Best example are the vaccines right now, where people are profiting from research that had been socialized. And who sent the first man to space?
The Russians. Okay. I think we're going to come up with our reading. I'm going to invite Lisa and Leanne and Gary to come up and share a reading.
Yes, do.
I do? Oh, okay. Sorry. One thing we've come to realize in our study of how to become more anti-racist is the power of relationships to sustain us, cross over cultural and natural boundaries. And this reading by Meg Wheatley speaks to that power.
There is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about.
Ask what's possible, not what's wrong. Keep asking.
Notice what you care about and assume that many others share your dream.
Be brave enough to start a conversation that matters.
Talk to people you know. Talk to people you don't know.
Talk to people you never talk to. Be intrigued by the differences you hear.
Expect to be surprised. Treasure curiosity more than certainty.
Invite in everyone who cares to work on what is possible.
Acknowledge that everyone is an expert about something.
Know that creative solutions come from new connections.
Remember, you don't fear people whose story you know.
Real listening always brings people closer together.
Trust that meaningful conversations can change your world.
Rely on human goodness.
Most importantly, stay together.
Thank you. Yeah. It's now time for our offertory, but before I want to sneak in a little announcement. We have Angela and Tu here, who are going to be our leaders of worship next week. I'm going to be here too. They're going to do a sort of a humanitarian spirited piece with a lot of art and some meditation in it. So we look forward to having them. We're going to have a funky seat design, and we're working on the details of that as we speak. So we'll welcome them in advance. There was an old synagogue. This is the offertory, so get ready to ching up. There's an old synagogue in Eastern Europe. When the Shema prayer was said, half the congregants would stand up and half remain seated during the prayer. When this happened, the half that remained seated started yelling at those to sit down, and the ones that were standing yelled back that those should stand up. The rabbi was learned in the law and very well trained, but he didn't know what to do. Someone in the congregation suggested that they consult a housebound 98-year-old man who was one of the original founders of this particular temple. And the rabbi agreed, hoping to find some kind of common ground. So went and visited the man. The man said, so the rabbi walked in and said, is it the tradition of this congregation or the synagogue to stand during the prayer? And the old man firmly said, no, that is absolutely not the tradition. The rabbi said that it must be the tradition to sit during the Shema prayer. And the old man said, that's not the tradition at all either. Then the rabbi said, but the members of the congregation fight all the time, yelling at each other about whether they should sit or stand. The old man exclaimed, that is the tradition. Give generously to the church, trying to find the right mix of breaking and sustaining traditions. Please join me in our affirmation of gratitude, printed above my head, hopefully. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us also be grateful for our needs, so that we may experience the generosity of others. And now our closing hymn.
Oops, wrong key, sorry.
Gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for life. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for life. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for lives.
This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all of our differences, beneath all our diversity, there is unity that makes us one and binds us forever together. In spite of time and death and the space between the stars, we pause in silent witness to that unity. May the blessing of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your hearts now and forevermore. So be it. Amen. Shalom, salam, namaste, and blessed be. And now our service truly begins. Go in peace.
Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. Wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one.
Thank you.
Amen. If you're not doing anything tonight, come on up on the hill and watch fireworks with us at 7:30.